All right, welcome guys to the NBA live stream. Happy Friday. Hope you guys had a good week. Let's close it out on a strong note here for this 11-game NBA slate. If you guys are curious of how I finished last night, ended up actually taking down the GPP and finished in the top 100 in the big tournament. If Frank Mason plays, if he doesn't get injured in the first 2 minutes, there's a really good chance I won at least 5 figures. Like, I probably would have been in the top 5 there if Mason did not get hurt. So what a night. Again, obviously terrible luck with the injury, but still pulled through, still won my, the $100 single entry, took home first. So can't really complain about it. But just like, yeah, if Mason didn't get hurt, it could have been, would have been up there probably in the top 5 of the the big tourney, the 100K to first tourney. So that's it for the recap. But yeah, let's go over what we know so far. So, let's see. Beginning of the day here, Kemba Walker ruled out. We'll see who they end up starting. It's either going to be Teague or Pritchard, my opinion. Robert Williams also ruled out. Let's see. Some of the stuff is for Saturday. Mason Plumlee ruled out. The Magic guys are all questionable besides MCW, who did get ruled in. Now, we don't really know if he's going to be on a minutes limit. He's been dealing with that foot injury for a while now. So, like, we'll see. The Magic is kind of just one of those situations where exactly what I said last night. I was like, hey, are you willing to take the risk? Because if you are, the Magic value was the best value on that slate. And you guys saw, if you guys saw my lineup, I had 5 Magic players, and again, took down the tournament because I was taking the risk. I was like, hey, if all these guys are ruled out, this value plus Isaiah Stewart is where we want to go. So yeah, just the same exact situation. Now, there's other value plays on the slate. For sure, obviously with Stewart again. We got a couple other guys, Pritchard we'll talk about. But I think if all those guys are out and MCW is limited, then yeah, I'm going back to the well with Orlando Magic value in a really good matchup. Let's see. Both Martin brothers are out. And then we have Westbrook, Matthews, Bertans, Rui, and Len starting for Washington. Again, Matthews is that value guy starting. He's min-price, but it's just like, I tell you what, Washington, like Boston with their value, I do not trust. Like, he could start and play like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. I would not be surprised. So it's just like kind of uneasy feeling there. Now, we do have Bagley questionable. That actually is some pretty big news. If Bagley's out, I'm curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. I would guess they move Halliburton into the starting lineup, but we'll see. Thought I was going to sneeze there. PJ Washington also ruled out. That is pretty big news. There it is. All right, so let's go over the Vegas odds really quick here. Minnesota and Charlotte at 230.5 over under. The Hornets are 3-point favorites. Knicks and Wizards at 218.5 over under. The Knicks are 3-point favorites. Pelicans, Mavs 233 over under. The Mavs are 3-point favorites. Spurs, Hawks at 224.5 over under. The Hawks are 2.5-point favorites. Pistons and Celtics at 211 over under. The Celtics are 8-point favorites. Clippers, Bulls 226 over under. The Clippers are 7.5-point favorites. Bucks and Jazz at 233 over under. The Jazz are 2.5-point favorites. That one should be a good one to watch. I also think there's some pretty interesting DraftKings plays there. Thunder, Nuggets, this one's a tricky one. Thunder could have another 8-man rotation, 21.5 over under, 11.5-point spread. But if they can keep it close, we could see some big games there for some of the Thunder players. Cavs and Blazers at 221 over under. The Blazers are 4-point favorites. Grizzlies, Lakers at 219 over under. The Lakers are 7-point favorites. Magic, Kings 223 over under. The Kings are 8.5-point favorites. And that is what we got for the 11 games. So let's go quickly here team by team, and then we'll get to questions at the end. Starting off in Minnesota, I still haven't seen anything of Karl-Anthony Towns on a minutes limit. I'm assuming he's going to be limited to around 30 minutes again, but there's nothing like confirmed yet. The issue I guess I have with the Cat is there's a lot of other good center plays on the board, so he's not out of play, but he's a little bit riskier. I do like the matchup quite a bit. The rest of the Minnesota players, I'm probably just going to stay away from. Everyone kind of priced up when there's no Cat and no D'Lo, so no one else really I'm interested in there. On the Charlotte side, it really just depends on Devontae Graham news. We're still waiting on that. We do have, again, PJ Washington out. So that is pretty significant because he was playing mid to high 20s minutes. So if Devontae Graham is out, I am pretty high on LaMelo Ball for tournaments. Again, we went over the tilts with him the last couple of games. Washington, 38 fantasy points in 3 quarters. Blowout. Houston, 50 fantasy points in 3 quarters. Blowout. Memphis game, for some reason, barely plays the second half. Was crushing there, and then a blowout. So, like, he has legit 60 fantasy point upside if Devontae Graham is out and he starts. If we get 40 minutes out of LaMelo Ball, Yes, he has 60 fantasy point upside. So I would like him actually quite a bit if Devontae Graham is out for tournaments. Hayward, Rozier, slight boost with no PJ Washington, not a ton. I think they're solid plays in the mid-range. Now, Miles Bridges does become more viable. Both Martin twins are out. There's no PJ Washington, too. I assume he starts. The issue is he already is kind of priced up to 5'8". If he was like 4'5", he would be one of my favorite value plays on the board. But I still think he's playable. I just would have wished he was a little bit cheaper. Monk should get some minutes as well at 4'7". Kind of reliant on the scoring, though, so I don't love that. Again, neither Martin twins are there. If you want to, like, I don't know, would it be Jalen McDaniels maybe that gets some run with both no Martin twins, but I just don't think we have to go there on this slate. All right. So let's refresh this. Let's see where we're at. Towns, Okogie, Edwards, Beasley, and Rubio. Okay, that's what we expected from Minnesota. I move on to New York and Washington. So the New York side, Julius Randle, I think is a good spend up. I think he goes a little bit overlooked in the slate. I mean, there's a lot of good stars. Like, you got to make some tough calls in the slate for sure. Randle is, I think, one of the better plays. I think he goes, again, over or under owned, I should say. But I love targeting players against his Washington Wizards team. They play no defense. He should play big minutes. He shot the ball terribly last game. Not super worried about it. With Derrick Rose being on this team, it really just takes the guards out of play. If you want a really sneaky, kind of low-owned value play, Nerlens Noel is the guy. Probably plays about 20 minutes, a good point per minute guy. So I think you could realistically take a shot at him there. On the Washington side, Russell Westbrook's one of my favorite spend ups of the slate with no Brad Beal. At 9K, that is too cheap. So really do like Westbrook. Value is just, this is just a headache. You can play Garrison Matthews. You can play him. He is very, very reliant on scoring, a low usage guy. Just a matter of will he hit his shots. So I would put him in the same category as a couple nights ago when Bryn Forbes was starting. Right? And Bryn Forbes is literally just out there to shoot. If you played Bryn Forbes a couple days ago, he had, I think he hit 6 or 7 threes, or 6 threes, I want to say, in the first half. Had like 19 fantasy points, and literally lost a half fantasy point in the second half because he just didn't hit a shot. So do I want to go to Garrison Matthews in the slate? I probably am going to pass. I would rather have Pritchard. I would rather have Isaiah Stewart. I would rather have, potential magic value. So I'm not going to do it. If you want to play him because he's starting, you can. Like, he could play 25-ish minutes, and if he hits his shots, yeah, like, he can get you 15 to 20, but it's not a situation I want to put money on in an 11-game slate. And then I just don't trust anyone else in this team, really. Like, these guys all do good at boost, but they can literally play like this whole roster. We've seen it a couple times when like one of the stars have been out that they really just extend the bench, and it's just something I don't want to deal with. So that's it for New York and Washington. Let's see where we're at. 300 viewers, 43 likes, guys. Can we get to 100 likes before the end of the show? Devontae Graham is in. All right. So Devontae Graham being in, that kind of takes, honestly, the rest of the Hornets out of play for me on an 11 gamer. Yeah, you can go to Miles Bridges, but like, again, he's priced to 6K. So it's just like, they're all kind of secondary plays for me now. All right, so San Antonio and Atlanta. On the Spurs side, I would say more secondary plays too, but DeRozan and DeJounte Murray is still viable. The issue is Derek White now back. That does take a hit to both their usage a bit. Again, I like the matchup, but neither are priorities. The guy that does intrigue me, at least, I think he goes a little bit lower owned, is Jakob Poeltl. The issue is we have Isaiah Stewart for value. We have a lot of good sped-up centers as well, so it's like hard for me to really prioritize Poeltl, but I think this is a game, if he stays out of foul trouble, should play over 30 minutes because this Atlanta front court is a big front court with Capella, John Collins. So, yeah, Poeltl intrigues me there in the mid-range, but other than that, there's not really anything else I like in San Antonio. On the Atlanta side, kind of the same thing. I think Trae Young's fine for tournaments, but I probably would rather go elsewhere. Capella, Collins, secondary plays. I know Herter played well the last game, but he's priced accordingly. Gallinari played 30 minutes the last game, but we did have some Capella foul trouble. He probably only plays 25-ish. Again, fine value, not a priority. So, yeah, that's really it for Atlanta. Moving on to New Orleans and Dallas. On the New Orleans side, all secondary plays again for me. Really, no one stands out. So, I will mention Kira Lewis has played 20 and 24 minutes the last couple of games, but can we depend on that? Probably not. I just feel better about other value. And it's just, yeah, like Guillermo Hernan-Gomez probably plays somewhere around 15 to 20-ish minutes. He played the low end of the last game. That's why he didn't, really get there. But he's normally a decent point per minute guy. Again, don't know if we have to do it, though. And then, like, everyone else is just secondary plays. On the Dallas side, I think Luka is a decent spend up for sure. at 10.9K, does have a high floor as well as a high ceiling. Is he a priority for me on the slate? No, I don't think he's a priority, but I think if you can land on Luka, if you're comfortable with the value, that's fine. Porzingis a little too overpriced. Tim Hardaway too reliant on scoring. Jay Rich seems priced out right. Brunson got a little bit of a price bump after that big game with Porzingis foul trouble. I still think he's fine. Not a priority. Dorian Finney-Smith, low usage guy. So they're just, no one, like this game's kind of a fade for me. Now, Detroit-Boston, this game does look a little bit more interesting. Okay, I was going to say, I didn't think Josh Jackson was questionable. Isaiah Stewart's one of the best values. I mean, he started, played 31 minutes. He was only like 50% owned in my tournament, which is just crazy. He should have been 100% in everything. Min-price center starting. The only concern here that you have with Isaiah Stewart is he's going to be really, really popular, and there is a chance he gets in foul trouble. He's had some foul trouble concerns, so it's like, yeah, but I'm not, with my one lineup, like, I'm not taking a risk and fading him. No, like, you play Isaiah Stewart and move on for cash for sure. I think you even do it for GBPs. I personally think it's a free square. So, Jeremy Grant was a huge letdown, was chalk last game, shot 4 of 17. I think he's an interesting GBP play that not a lot of people will be on. DeLon Wright, kind of the same thing, was somewhat popular, was a bust as well. Don't love the matchup for either of them. Blake Griffin, I think he's going to play. He's rested in a lot of back-to-backs, but they are really thin in the front court, so I'm guessing he probably plays and probably will play about 30 minutes. I actually think, like, it's gross, but I know I've said it multiple times that he is washed. But, like, realistically, if Isaiah Stewart gets in foul trouble, you're probably going to get small ball Blake at the 5. So, yeah, you can do him. If for some reason Blake Griffin gets ruled out, I think Sadiq Bey would probably be the backup 4-5. So, like, then he would be viable. But really, the priority for me is Isaiah Stewart for sure. On the Boston side, no Kemba Walker. Tatum and Brown are both decent plays at the top. There is some blowout risk here. The Detroit team is pretty bad. But both Tatum and Brown are fine options. Tice for value of 4.8 I think is safe. Probably should play around 30 minutes. A decent point per minute guy. And then value-wise, whether it be Pritchard or Jeff Teague, I'm hoping it's Pritchard because he's just been playing more minutes, actually been a better fantasy producer than Teague. If Teague starts, you can go to him because he's so cheap. But the last time Teague started, I think he only played about 20 minutes. So don't expect huge minutes from Teague if he does start. It was this game against the Kings where he played 23. So if Pritchard starts, I think Pritchard is one of the best value plays of the slate. If he comes to the bench, he's a little bit riskier because, again, the minutes have been fluctuating for him. No, the answer is no. I will not be chasing Semi Ojeleye. I warned people about chasing Grant Williams. And I told you cannot trust the minutes in the secondary place. People went to Grant Williams. He played 17 minutes. He's a low-usage guy. Trust me. I know Semi Ojeleye hit like 23 pointers last game. There is no way I'm chasing him. He is like a 0.2 fantasy point per minute guy. Not that bad, but he's terrible. So, no, I will not be playing Semi Ojeleye. I think that is a mistake if you play him. Moving on to the Clippers and the Bulls. So Clippers, no Paul George, then Kawhi Leonard is one of the best spin ups of the slate. Love the matchup for him. He had a massive game last game, so I do think Kawhi is safe with upside. The rest of the Clippers kind of stayaways. No one really stands out. I think you could consider Lou Williams or GPPs. 29 minutes in back-to-back games. We're finally seeing the Lou Williams of old. So yeah, you can take a shot at him, but again, 5'8", it's like, I don't love the price there. On the Chicago side, more of the same. I don't trust the secondary pieces here. Minutes kind of fluctuating for these guys. Zach LaVine, you can take a shot at him in tournaments, but it's nothing more than a risky contrarian play, and that's really it. All right, guys, let's see. Let's refresh Fantasy Labs. Let's make sure we're up to date here. Devontae Graham in. We're up to date. All right, 5 games left. We have 400 viewers, 68 likes. Thank you guys so much. Again, once I get done with this quick breakdown, I'll get to questions at the end. So Thunder and Denver really depends on, right now, Isaiah Roby, because that is actually pretty big news. If Isaiah Roby is in, it really does make the rest of the Thunder guys a little bit riskier. If he's out, it's going to be an 8-man rotation. So there's a couple different ways you can approach this game. You think the game stays close. If you think the Thunder can keep in it, I think it's Diallo and Horford would be the two guys to look to first. Diallo going to be running the point a lot. He has a high floor with the assist because of that. Does have a somewhat high ceiling around the point. I mean, 7K it does make him like it's more of a GBP play, but if you think the Thunder can keep it close, it's Diallo and it's Al Horford. I know Al Horford is also priced up, but Horford should play about 30 minutes. Diallo should play mid-30s minutes. These will be the main guys in the offense, and if they can keep it close, it's going to be those two. So they're intriguing GBP plays depending on how you're attacking the slate. You can go to Bazley too. He's been even more up and down, but we've seen a couple big games from him as well. And then value-wise, so if Roby is out, I think Kenrich Williams probably plays mid-30s minutes. He played 35 in regulation that last game. I think he would be solid. Like 5-1 is not an amazing price, but definitely playable. Lou Dort, I don't like playing Lou Dort. He's just out there for his defense. I'll probably pass on him. Mike Muscala is the guy that if there's no Isaiah Roby, I actually would like for value. I would assume we'd probably get 25-ish minutes, somewhere around there. He's a decent point per minute guy. So yeah, I actually would like Mike Muscala if Isaiah Roby is out. Now, if Isaiah Roby is in and he starts, I would like Roby himself as long as there's no minutes limit. So really just depends on Isaiah Roby news. Justin Jackson is only playable if there's no Roby. He's a super low usage guy, but has played 27 in back-to-back games when they did have an 8-man rotation. All right, Denver side, it's Jokic for me, and that's it. No one else I'm really interested in. Jokic, a good GPP play. There is some risk with the blowout here. If the game can stay close, you could see a massive game from Jokic. Murray, MPJ, Barton, secondary plays in the mid-range. Probably one of those guys has a good game, but they've all been a little up and down this season. Milwaukee and Utah. I actually do like this game a good amount here. High over under, no Drew Holiday. Giannis and Chris Middleton I think are both good options, even in a tough matchup. I like them both. Both will have to do more of the playmaking with no Drew Holiday. So Giannis, Chris Middleton I like a lot. Value-wise, there's absolutely no way I'm going there on an 11-game slate. Again, last time I played Brink Forbes, it was, again, I think he had 19 fantasy points in the first half and lost a fantasy point in the second half. And then, yes, I played Pat Connaughton because I had to pivot off of Isaiah Roby. He got me a nice 4 fantasy points in 21 minutes. Good job, Pat. No, there's no way I'm taking a shot on anyone else. On the Utah side, Donovan Mitchell I think is one of the best plays of the slate. I really like him at this price. It barely moved. It's just a situation of when Mike Conley is out, he runs the point. When he runs the point, the floor is way higher. The ceiling is way higher. So I love Donovan Mitchell here at 8-2. He is a point guard. He is underpriced for running the point. He should play mid to high 30s minutes. I really like him. I don't know if he's going to be that popular, but I think Mitchell's one of the best plays of the slate. Other options. Bojan, 2-score independent from me. The two other guys I look to, Joe Ingles started, played 36 minutes the last game. I think he's firmly in play in the mid-range. Would have wished he was a little bit cheaper, but viable. And then Clarkson's more of the GPP play. Should play about 30 minutes off the bench. Very reliant on the scoring, but does have upside if he's hitting his shots, and he's at a playable enough price point here where I think you can go to him in tournaments as well. All right, Memphis and the Lakers. So Memphis is definitely a team that I don't love targeting the Lakers because they're pretty solid defensively, but the price points look pretty good in these guys. Jonas Valanciunas was on pace for over 30 minutes. That game blew out last game. Ja Morant was on pace for about 33, 34 minutes, blowout. The price went down on Ja, went down on JV. I kind of like them both here. You know, they're a little bit thin as well. So I think this is a game where we could get maybe 35-plus minutes from Ja. And I think he is a really interesting play in the mid-range. I do like him a good amount for tournaments, and I think he flies under the radar. And I have some interest in JV as well. Again, JV is a good point per minute guy, and if he's going to go over 30 minutes, both him and Ja, I think, are good plays in that range. You can make the argument for Slow-Mo. He's also been pretty solid. Would rather get to Ja and JV for a little bit more, but he's had 30-plus fantasy points the last 3 games. Brooks, relying on the scoring, don't love it. So there's no Melton, no Bane, no Clark. They are a little bit thin. So I think a couple of interesting value plays here, Tyus Jones and Grayson Allen. You know, both these guys, I would assume, probably they've been hovering around like, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. I think we could get 25-ish for both these guys. So yeah, they're both in play for value. With Tillman and Gorgie Jang, the minutes have been a little inconsistent for both these guys. You know, trending down for Tillman, which is not great. Gorgie Jang, the minutes have been, you know, not great either. I don't really have a good feeling on what they're going to do with these like kind of backup bigs, so I'm probably just going to stay away. On the Lakers side, it really depends on Anthony Davis. He is currently questionable if AD is in. Honestly, I'm probably just going to stay away from the Lakers. If AD is out, you can make the argument for LeBron, but there's a lot of good spend up to the slate. He still wouldn't be a priority for me. We've gotten overtime a couple times there for LeBron to really boost his stat line, so be careful there. Mid-range guys, Schroeder, Harold, Kuzma. If there's no AD and Kuzma starts, I would actually have interest in him because he played 34 minutes in regulation. He would be viable. If AD is out and they start Markieff Morris, then I actually would have some interest in Markieff Morris, who's played 26 and 25 minutes last couple games. Not a amazing fantasy point per minute guy, but he's at mid price, and if he gets mid 20s minutes, I think you could go there. But that's probably it for me. All right, 2 games left to go, guys. We got about 15 minutes left in the stream. So let's see. We are good to go. 420 viewers, guys. Thank you so much. Ingles, yeah, again, I think Ingles is a little bit priced up. Cleveland and Portland. So Andre Drummond is one of my favorite tournament plays of the slate. I absolutely love buying into guys after bad games because it just lowers the ownership. You know, kind of like Domantas Sabonis yesterday, right? He had a couple games where blowouts really hurt his stat line. He had 1-4 game 2 where he didn't play the fourth quarter. So people are box score watching, they're seeing that, and they're like, okay, they're going to look elsewhere. People are going to look at this. They're going to see 16 minutes and 13 fantasy points, and they're going to avoid him. I think that is a mistake in tournaments. Again, he's one of my favorite GPP plays. I love the matchup. I think we get over 30 minutes in a close game. They've been starting him and Jarrett Allen together, so I do have a good amount of interest in Drummond for tournaments. Sexton, Garland, fine options, not priorities. Jarrett Allen, no thank you. He's someone I look to when Drummond is out. Taurean Prince is a fair play at his price, 4.7, should play mid-20s minutes. But again, doesn't look amazing. And that is it. I do not play Isaac Okoro. He could be free, and I wouldn't play him. So moving on to Portland. Damian Lillard, I think, will be lower owned as well. But he's still got 70-plus fantasy point upside in him. He shot 6 of 21 last game and still went for 50 fantasy points. 6 of 21. Imagine if he had a half-decent shooting game, right? So the upside is here with Dame Lillard. I think he's a good play that goes a little bit overlooked. Cantor, don't mind. You could run Cantor and Drummond together, honestly, in tournaments as a little stack. Both are not amazing defenders. Cantor especially not a good defender. So I think you could do that in GPPs. And then, you know, the wings with like Covington, Trent, Melo, they're all just secondary plays to me. Derrick Jones Jr. was in some foul trouble, only played 23 minutes. I expect him to play close to the 30-minute mark. I think he's a decent value play here at 4K. Last game here, Orlando and Sacramento. So exactly what I said yesterday. Literally word for word. Are you willing to take the risk here with the Magic and hope they're all out? Because you can definitely do that. You can take the approach I did. It's really risky because if a lot of these guys are in, I don't want to play the Magic value. So it's just a matter of, again, this is a late game. We're not going to know for a while. But if we get news that every single player that is questionable gets ruled out and MCW is going to be limited to like 15 minutes, then you're going to want to load up on the Magic value again. So, but if we get that news like 30 minutes before lock of this game, all these guys are going to be pretty low owned. So it just depends how you want to attack the slate. This is a really risky approach if you're banking for them to be out, but that's what I did last night. Won a GPP with a 0 in my lineup. So Nikola Vucevic at 9.4, I think is one of the best spin ups of the slate. Whether those Magic guys are in or out, it doesn't really affect him, to be honest. So I love Vuce here at 9.4. I think, again, one of the best plays of the slate. And then it's hard to break down. So I'll say if Fournier, Cole Anthony, and Amino are all out, we really had to know what MCW if he's on a minutes limit. Let's see. Return to court. We shouldn't be surprised. Yeah, we don't know yet if he's going to be on a minutes limit. So this is a little bit tricky. If he's going to be limited to like 15 to 20 minutes, don't have a ton of interest in him. And then it would just be the same thing. It would be Ennis and Ross for GPPs and Bacon just because of the minutes. And Chuma Okeke and Kem Birch actually got some decent minutes. He played 24. So all of those guys would be guys that I would look to for value if, in fact, all those guys are out. Now, if every single one of these players are in, then it's probably just Vooch and I would say, let's see, Vooch and Cole Anthony, if there's no minutes limit for him, I would like him at 5.2. So those would be the two players I would play probably if they're all in. Again, if they're all out, it's going to be Vooch and the value. So just a hard situation to break down. Again, you got to ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk with these guys? Lastly, Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox, if you're going to load up in the Magic and hope for those guys to be out, De'Aaron Fox is probably the bring back I would go to. He's playing 35 to 40 minutes a game. Great matchup. You just saw what Steph Curry did to this defense. So I do like De'Aaron Fox a good amount there for tournaments, not a cash game play. Buddy Hield at 6.7, not really someone I play. He's kind of like an Andrew Wiggins. I know he's kind of got some he's normally a little bit more reliant in the scoring, so I'm probably going to look elsewhere. Harrison Barnes, you guys know my feeling there. Know my feelings. Marvin Bagley is questionable, so we'll see what they do here. Maybe they move a guy like Glenn Robinson in the starting lineup. He's kind of been fringe in the rotation out, like he doesn't play a ton. If he starts, I guess you could punt with him, but I wouldn't love it. Or maybe just move Tyrese Halliburton into the starting lineup, and then that would actually be a pretty decent play in the mid-range. So I have to keep an eye on that one. Holmes, I kind of like for GPPs. He's, we know his foul trouble issues, but we also know his ceiling is like 40-plus fantasy points when he's getting it going. So 5.6 is at a price where it's like, okay, yeah, his range of outcomes is really wide, right? He can get 15, he can get 50. But at 5.6... right? You might that's one where it's like, okay, I might be willing to take a risk on him for tournaments. And that is it for my breakdown, guys. So let's refresh Fantasy Labs. Let's make sure we're up to date, and then we'll get to some questions. Knicks, normal starting lineup there. Again, don't really have interest in the guards. Just with Derrick Rose back, it just kind of takes everyone else out of play. All right, guys, almost 500 viewers, 100 likes. Thank you. Fox or Towns? Yeah, so right now I'm going to say Fox, and that's the only reason is I think Towns will still be on a somewhat of a minutes limit. Ja, good for GPP. I do like Ja, yeah. I might do cash tonight and get some easy dubs. You can play cash. I never really play cash games anymore. I was a big cash game player back in the day, for sure. I grinded it out, but I just had more fun playing tournaments. Ja, Drummond, or J-Val. Drummond or J-Val for tournaments. I mean, if you can get to Drummond, I think he has the most upside, I would say, of those three. Westbrook and Bridges, or Giannis and Pritchard. It would be Westbrook and Bridges for me. Cash game lineup: Westbrook, Mitchell, Grayson Allen, Randall, Isaiah Stewart, Garrison Matthews, Kawhi, and Hernan Gomez and the Pelicans. There's some risk, right? Garrison Matthews is a risky value. Hernan Gomez is a little risky because of minutes. Westbrook or Fox for cash. Westbrook. Middleton and Ennis, or Kawhi and Garrison Matthews. I will say the first option, if all his Magic guys are out. So, again, it's like, are you willing to take the risk? Because if those Magic guys are in, I don't really want to play James Ennis. So, depends how you're playing the slate. Vooch or Jokic? I'll take the discount on Vooch. Who do you think plays in a blowout for OKC? I would say Horford will for sure get pulled. Diallo will probably get pulled. And one of Baisley and Dort get pulled, would be my guess. Congrats on your takedown, brother. Thank you. Favorite utility under 5,100. All right, let's see. 5,100 and utility. So, let's see. I think right now, if there's no Isaiah Roby, I will say Kenneth Williams. I don't love the price on Kenneth Williams, but we should get mid-30s minutes from him, which would make him a certainly fine play. So I will go Kenneth Williams there. I'm just trying to scroll down anyone else, really. I mean, you can go to Daniel Tice. That's another option. Yeah, I don't love the 5K range, really. There's not a ton that stands out to me. Congrats on the takedown. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Takedown with an injured player. I did not think that was going to happen. But, yeah, we'll take it. Bridges or Kenneth Williams? I think if you can get to Bridges, Bridges. Thoughts on Denny? The Washington value is certainly in play. But I never trust the minutes. The minutes fluctuate with all these guys so much. He could play 33. He could play 15. So, again, at least a couple of these Washington Wizards guys will get there. But I have no trust in the minutes. No trust. So, yeah, you can take the risk. If I knew Denny was going to play 30 minutes, I would probably have a lot of interest in him. But there's just never a guarantee there. Westbrook and Drummond, or Vooch and Hamidou Diallo? Westbrook and Drummond. Trae Young or Westbrook? Westbrook. Westbrook or Randall? Westbrook. All right. Pick two: Giannis, Drummond, or Kawhi, Russ. Kawhi and Russ. Thoughts on stacking Keldon and DeRozan? Pretty risky on this slate in 11 games. I don't think it makes sense. You kind of need some overtime there. Kawhi or Vooch? That one's almost like those are two of my top plays. I'll give the edge to Vooch, but I love both. LeBron or Drummond? Drummond. Drummond for the discount for tournaments. Drummond's not a cash game play, so it depends where you're playing, but I really do like him in tournaments. Ja, DeJounte, Ja. Might play cash on the Wizards. 9.4K utility. Let's see. Vucevic. Yeah, I'm not fading Westbrook. With no Beal, I don't care about the matchup. He should be 10K plus with no Beal. I know there's some blowout risk, sure. If it blows out, I lose. Whatever. I'm not fading Westbrook. Ja or Diallo? Ja. 7,700 for power forward. I don't like much in this range. If I had to pick one, it would be Jeremy Grant. You like Cleveland versus Portland stack? I think you can do it. If I'm going to do that, it probably would be Drummond paired with Lillard. May have to stack Bacon and Ross tonight after I missed out on hundreds because I didn't last night. Although it would have been my first takedown. Yeah, I think I only go to those guys really if everyone else is out for Orlando. So it kind of just depends on that news. And the reason I made that pivot, because I originally had the same as you, I had Draymond and Maxey, was once I retweeted that video of Doc Rivers, was like, yeah, he might get minutes, he might not. I'm like, I'm not willing to take a zero, so I pivoted just the full Magic stack. Rank the small forward, power forward in the 7K range with Hayward, Grant, and Collins. I don't really like any of them, to be honest. I guess it'll probably be Grant, then Hayward, then Collins, but I don't want to play any of them. Vooch and Cole Anthony or Jokic and Roby. Well, it depends on a lot of stuff, right? Roby, if he plays, is there a minutes limit? Cole Anthony, does he play? Is there a minutes limit? So, like, if there's no minutes limit for either, Vooch and Cole Anthony. Isaiah Stewart, yeah, clear value of the slate for sure. Why did Okeke play 35 minutes last game? Because they have 7 healthy bodies to play. Do you like Birch and Kenrich for value? Or do you like Grayson and Ennis? I like both options. Again, depends. Like, Birch is only viable if all those guys are out. I mean, I guess I'll say the first option for now. Bridges or Blake Griffin Bridges. Levine and Muscala or Fox and Reddish. Ooh, I don't really want to play Reddish, so I guess Levine and Muscala. $1 single GPP, any good to play, or should I stick with double ups? I mean, depends on your risk tolerance. Vooch and Matthews or Drummond and Bacon for cash. Which If it's Wes Matthews, I don't play Wes Matthews. He's just too reliant on scoring. Yeah, so I'll go the one with no Wes Matthews. Is Melo a fade with Graham back? He's riskier. So I'm probably not going to go there with Graham back. Ford under 4K. It's going to be, we'll see. Isaiah Stewart's a center. Peyton Pritchard's a guard. I think you got Derek Jones Jr. 4K is decent. And then you have possibly some Magic value. Again, the Magic guys, Okeke, Birch, only viable if all those guys are out. So that's really where I'm at. Not a whole lot. Like, how many minutes did Juancho Hernan go? Yeah, he's basically been... I don't think he played that last game. So I guess at the moment, I would just say Derek Jones Jr. Who was the hero for tonight? Hopefully not someone in my lineup. Fox, Randall, or Westbrook? Westbrook. 9.4K utility? I think, 9.4K was Vooch, right? He's 9.4. Yeah, Vooch. I like Vooch and Quiet. Sadiq Bey love only if Blake Griffin is out. I don't really like Royce. I would rather just spend up a little bit more for Clarkson and Ingles. Stewart a lock. I mean, I don't know how I get away from him. The only way he doesn't get there is foul trouble. Wish me some. Hey, happy birthday, man. Have a good one. Hope you get a takedown. Brown, Grant, or Middleton. Middleton. Rubio, not for me. Barnes and Pritchard versus Muscala and Lou. You finished in 6th with a GP with Donut. Man, I feel ya. Yeah, I finished in the top 100 there of the huge tournament with a 0. So Barnes I don't really like Barnes. Lou is risky though, so it's just like I will go Muscala and Lou if you're going for GPPs. Any Levine love? I think he's decent tournament play for sure. Would rather get to Vooch and Kawhi at a similar price. I think they're more optimal plays. Okeke, yeah, I think if all those Magic guys are out, you can go to him for value for sure. Again, it just really depends on the status of those other guys. Diallo and Thad Young or Jeremy Grant and Darius Baisley. Probably the first one. I don't love Thad Young, but I'll go the first one. Westbrook and Drummond or Vooch and Hamidou Diallo. Westbrook and Drummond. Westbrook. Okay, I missed that. It's going a little bit fast. Diallo or a Grant for cash? Well, which Grant? Jeremy Grant or Diallo? Again, both are a little bit risky. I don't love the matchup for Grant. Diallo, there's some blowout risk. Probably the safer, I guess, is Grant. I don't think he had to play Middleton, but I like him in the mid-range. Yeah, if Pritchard starts, I really like Pritchard. Ford for under 4.5. Let's see. Again, some of this is dependent on news. So Muscala, if there's no Isaiah Roby, would be my answer. If Isaiah Roby's in, then we just got to reevaluate things. Again, possible Magic value here too. So, oops. 3,700 or under Ford. Yeah, I think one of those Magic guys is Kem Birch is 3,600. So, yeah, if all those Magic guys are out, I would say Kem Birch. But again, you need those guys to be out because Kem Birch was like the game before he only played 7 minutes. He played 24 because they just didn't have any bodies. So I am only playing Birch if all those guys are out. If every single one of those, if one guy is in for the Magic, I'm not going to Birch. So I think he could get a DNP. DeJounte versus Trey defense. You can go there in tournaments. Yeah, I think Giannis is one of the better ones. 5,800 for utility and GPP. That's a tough one. Because you got a couple guys here with like Bridges, Lou Williams, Pirtle. Give me Bridges. Give me Bridges there. I don't love the price on him, but I'll go there. Point guard in the slate, Westbrook for me. Yeah, I like Kawhi Levine pairing. Russ Mitchell, Fox Drummond, value thoughts? I like that. Westbrook or Fox, Westbrook. Darko. And it's worth it at 4,200 if all the Magic guys are out? Yes. Favorite guard, 3,900 and lower, Pritchard. Are you taking the Magic value and risking it? That's what I'm a risk taker, so yeah. Top plays for today. I got to say that for Patreon, unfortunately. Pritchard or Garrison Matthews? Pritchard. Bullock at 4,000? No. Neto or Pritchard? Pritchard. Muscala or Bacon? Right now it's Muscala. Towns or Randall? That's a tough one. I'll go Randall because I'm more comfortable with the minutes. Ball going to give you at least 40, LOL. With Devontae Graham in, though, I don't love Ball. Westbrook, Mitchell, Diallo, Kiki, Stewart, Pritchard, Roby, and Doncic for GBP. Yeah, I like that. I like it. Good value, 6,600. Let's see. A couple more questions, guys, and I do have to wrap it up here. So 6,600 and shooting guard. There's nothing that really stands out here. I think there's a couple guys that are playable. You got Sexton, Rozier, even Halliburton if he starts. So, like, I don't have a super strong take on that one. There's, like, a few guys that are playable, no standouts, though. Hornets lineup out. Okay, let's see what they got. Do they start the 3-guard lineup? Graham, Rozier. Okay, yeah, so they are starting Ball, Hayward, and Zeller. Let me see their rotation last game. Because they could have a pretty thin rotation here. Those three, let me go to Charlotte. Okay, this is, no more questions. Let me finish up with the Charlotte because I think this is pretty important, and then I do it to get out of here. So, both Martin twins combined for 30 minutes the last game. Biyombo will play a little bit off the bench. They got Monk and Bridges off the bench. So, no Washington. So, it's LaMelo, Gordon Hayward, Rozier, Cody Zeller, and Devontae Graham starting. Those 5. Bridges off the bench, Monk off the bench, Biyombo will play a little bit off the bench. It might be an 8-man rotation, unless they add like a McDaniels maybe to the rotation. If that's an 8-man rotation against Minnesota, I'm kind of talking myself into some of these Hornets. So I still think we could go to LaMelo Ball. It's going to be interesting to see how he works with playing alongside both Graham and Rozier. It's going to be a little bit weird, but I think you could go. I think you could go to LaMelo Ball for tournaments because again, he's a good point per minute guy, and they're pretty thin. It could be an 8-man rotation here. So yes, there's some playable guys here with those Hornets. Does one really stand out? No. If I'm going to take a shot on one, I think it would just be LaMelo Ball because he's got the most upside, even though he's the priciest. But all right, that is it, guys. Again, I do it to get out of here. So thanks again. Keep up with that news. Obviously, monitor the Magic news. That's the big one. Good luck to everyone. I hope you guys all have a great night, and I'll see you back here Saturday for another YouTube live stream.